Welcome back, guys. Kyra here from Preemadonna. We recently posted a video about submitting art for one of our art challenges. One lucky submission even got live demoed on our Nailbot. Now I want more of you to send me your artwork, but I'm worried that you're stressing yourselves out thinking, where do I even start? How do I make a digital image? So have no fear. Today I'm going to introduce you to my favorite software, Adobe Illustrator Creative Suite 6. Something that's good to know is that there are two different kinds of digital artwork: raster-based images and vector-based. Raster-based images use pixels, whereas vector-based images use Bezier curves and equations. Now, what's a pixel? I don't know. You tell me. Vote on your phones now. But I'll give you a hint. They are those little boxes of color you see when you zoom into a digital image. The reason why you get those little boxes when you zoom in is because you're trying to fit the same amount of pixels now over a wider area. It starts to look pixelated. This is why I prefer vector-based images, because they maintain their quality. Say if you need to use a logo on a business card as well as on a billboard. A vector-based image can change sizes as you need. Even though creating vector-based graphics can seem a little scary, I promise you that there are some great resources online to use to perfect your skills. So by following this mini tutorial, I am pleased to say that you guys will be well on your way to creating your own vector-based graphics, which we can then print on the Nailbot. So what I'm going to teach you how to do today is use the pen tool. The pen tool, or P as a shortcut, is available right here on your left navigation bar. So once you have the pen tool selected, we can start making vectors. And what you need to do first is create a starting point or anchor. Now if you click once, that's how you get your starting point. Now if you click somewhere else, the program will automatically calculate a line between those 2 points. However, straight lines aren't very exciting. You can't do much with those. So if I hit Command Z or undo, I still have my starting point. And instead of just clicking once to make the next point, I'm going to click, hold, and drag. And this stem here will dictate how the line curves. So then if I click, hold, and drag somewhere else, it will continue the line, meeting again the same path provided by the second anchor stem. So I encourage you to click and drag a bunch of times, seeing what kind of crazy swirls you can come up with, and learn what the pen tool's all about. Once you are happy with your curve and you want to close the shape, what you do is you find your original anchor point right here. You see the little bubble in the bottom right corner next to the pen tool, and you click on it to close the shape. Quickly moving on, since our art challenge is about feminists in history, I took the liberty of looking up Rosie the Riveter. I'm going to be tracing her arm using the pen tool. The easiest thing to do when you want to trace an image like this is you minimize your window, dragging it to be smaller, and you drag it over to your canvas, the 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch canvas. I had already done so, so now I have 2 images. We'll ignore that. And what you can do using V, the selection tool, you can drag it down while holding shift so that it fits our bounding box. Now, Rosie the Riveter is our first layer. You can find the layers on the right navigation bar right here. What we're going to do is double click this layer and make it a template layer by checking template. What this will do, it will dim the image and lock it so that we can't draw on it or edit it in any way. This makes it easier to trace. So once you select new layer, which is this little paper looking icon down here, we can now use the pen tool, again, P, to trace her arm. Now guys, I very briefly talked about how to use the pen tool. I will have links for you guys to practice using the pen tool, but we're going to move on assuming that you have some comfort using this tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a anchor point. It can really be anywhere along the arm. It's just your personal preference. I'm going to start here on her arm since it has a relatively simple straight line right there. And then start to make lines around her arm. The reason why it's creating a white shape here is because I have these settings. The fill is white and there is no stroke. See that red line? So to get default settings, you can select D or click this icon that I'm pointing at currently, and that will give it a black line and still a white fill. I want to be able to see behind it, so I'm going to make this white fill invisible. Now the stroke is a bit wide for my taste, so I can go to the selection tool, select it, and then change the stroke size to 0.25. Very simple. But you guys might notice that these lines are very boxish. That's not how an arm looks. So I'm going to go ahead actually and delete this and use the trick we learned about clicking and dragging to create curves. You just hold it long enough to know where it's going to go, and then continue making curves around the shape here. It's perfectly okay to go back and edit these. I'll show you how to do that later. But my recommendation is to use as little anchor points as possible because it will make it easier to edit later on. We've used the selection tool before, which is great for selecting an entire shape. But if you want to go back and edit these anchor points, what we're going to use is the direct selection tool, or A, as a shortcut. From there, you can select anchor points, reveal its anchor stem, and modify it from there. Great. So we have an outline. I want to be more detailed and have her fingers here, so I'm going to zoom in, reopen up the pen tool, start from any point that I desire, and carry on moving through her inner fingers. Now if I want to create the effect of moving backwards, like these lines will need, I have to use this little trick where I select the anchor point to make it flat, so to speak, so that it won't curve in the way that I don't want it to. Now it will make it easier to move it backwards as if this were a solid starting anchor point. So I can click again, move backwards, click again, move backwards, and there you have it. Do is delete our first layer so that we're left alone with our work. Cool, that's a pretty strong looking arm right there. I'm using the selection tool to move my shape where I would like it on the screen. Now remember guys, since this is a vector, we can scale it to be larger so that it fits our entire canvas, make it as large as possible, and it won't lose any of its quality. So I'm going to select it again using the selection tool and scale it while holding shift so that it stays uniform, so that it can be as large as it possibly can. Yay. Fill this shape, I can use the fill option over here, double click it, and select from any number of colors. I'm going to use a peach-like color to match Rosie the Riveter's skin tone. There you have it. And now if you like, you can also change the stroke so that it's not so harsh. You can pick a dark brown, or maybe get a little fancy. You can have a pink for female power, you know. And voila, you have Rosie the Riveter's arm. Huh, how is it already dark out? Anyway, I hope you guys found this video educational and helpful, and we'll see you next time. Bye.